I talked a lot about it last week because this story bubbled to the surface, this story about it becoming official. We found documentation that the banks were trying to debank Donald Trump, and that's just another one of those flanks that he was being attacked on. And I wanted to reach out to my connection in the banking business, Mike Ring of Old Glory Bank. Mike, it's good to have you along today.
Well, Lee, thanks for having me on. We're proud to be your partners.
This is one of the reasons why people should be doing business with Old Glory Bank.
Yeah, we really like to state the obvious that we were cool before cool was cool. We have been talking about debanking since 2022 when we first announced and we opened up our first accounts in 2023. And Lee, I will tell you, everyone on the left, every big bank said we were crazy. There was no debanking happening. Never happened. You guys are a bunch of lunatics, you on the right. You don't need a special bank that loves America. And we said, you're wrong, and yes, we do, and we've been very blessed. We were born in Elmore City, Oklahoma, right down the street from you all, and we've been very blessed with the success we have. We have customers in all 50 states, and our size has grown 2,000% in the last 2 years.
And it's for that reason, I believe.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
We kind of keep it simple. One is, unlike the big banks, we don't lie to you and tell you something we're doing that we're not doing that we really are. But more importantly, we have the best products, and customer service. So actually, bank with someone who is happy to see you, who gives you a smile and loves what you love. And, oh, by the way, we have the best products and service.
Well, we'll get into some of the other issues in a minute here. I just wanted to get into the debanking thing. Now, this wasn't an order that came from the Department of Treasury. This wasn't an order that came from FDIC or anything. This wasn't an official order that came down. These banks were doing this on their own? Yeah,
this is where I've really called out the big bank CEOs. In fact, if you can go online, it's got John Rich has posted it. I heard Brian Moynihan, the CEO of Bank of America, flat out lie on CNBC last week. And what happened is earlier in the morning, our great president, President Trump, is on CNBC talking about debanking. And it was the first time we'd always believed it. And his wife talked about it in her book. The first time he said that, yes, as soon as I was out of office, Jamie Dimon from Chase Bank told me I had to take my money out. And then I looked for another bank, so I called up Brian Moynihan, my friend, and this is the greatest thing Trump said. I won't say it on the air, but Trump said, and I called up Moynihan, and while I was in office, you used to kiss my blank.
Yeah.
and now that I'm out of office, you won't take my business, and Moynihan wouldn't. And then so Trump says this on the air live, and the hosts were just like, oh, we didn't know this is where you were going. Well, by chance, they had Moynihan on in the afternoon because they were at one of their rich elite Aspen conferences where all the cool kids go. And of course, he was there in his goofiness. And the CNBC host asked him, what is this? Let me play for you, Mr. Moynihan, what President Trump said. And they play it, and Moynihan just kind of goes white. And even though he's got a bunch of, big hair and makeup budget, he just goes white. And he starts mumbling and says, well, AML, BSA, KYC, reputational risk. And he never denies that he refused to bank Donald Trump. And he starts saying letters that have real meaning to him, but have no application to the former president. And I just was so upset about this. And so I went online and said, listen, I'm making a bet right now with Moynihan, this is my money, not the bank's money, that I will pay a charity of your choice $100,000 if you come on my podcast, which is PSL, my podcast, and you tell me one person either at a regulator or one person at the Biden administration that told you couldn't bank Donald Trump because he's acting like it was the regulator's fault. You're lying. This was your choice, and you need to man the F up and tell the truth. And so far, I haven't heard from him, but hopefully he's listening today and he'll call.
I hope so, too. Now, I'm not a banker. Mike Ring is with us with Old Glory Bank. I'm not a banker. My lovely wife, I have the advantage of being married to someone who has 2 degrees, a degree in finance and a degree in nursing. So I say she's a financial nurse. But she is the one that I lean on when it comes to banking business. And the one thing I've learned from her is that if you are a banker, you're just like any other business. You want all the business you can get. You want the big business, you want the small business, you want you want the regular business, you want the irregular business, because it's all business. Why would you get into the public eye and say something like, "I don't want your business," like that, like those larger banks did?
And that was the market opportunity that we saw back in 2022 and 2023 when we launched. It is crazy as it is. And also, a couple things happening here. One is the CEOs who run these big banks have never started a business or signed the front side of a check. They're not like normal people who actually take a risk and start a business. They just came up through the chain, and they're living off other people's success and their stockholders entrusting it with them. And so they don't really have a dog in the fight because they've never put themselves at risk to start a business like, the great founders of Old Glory.
Yeah.
But they are so politically focused on appeasing the hard left and the woke agenda that they actually would turn down the former president's business. And listen, he may not have billions. I'm not sure how much he had, but he certainly had hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And no rational person would do that unless you are so woke focused that you don't want your customers and your middle management to get upset at you because you're banking the former president. And that is why they are not putting their stockholders first. They're not putting the interest of the bank first. They're putting their own ideology first. And that's what upsets me. And it'd be okay if you did that. And by the way, we can talk about Trump's executive order in a minute. I actually have always preached this, and I was blessed to testify in front of the Senate this past February talking about debanking. And I was the first one to say, and I may be the only person still saying, I don't want more government regulations. I don't want the government to tell any bank that you have to bank Donald Trump. I actually do believe that it's a free country and you could bank who you want. If you're a cake maker and you don't want to make a cake for a gay wedding, that should be your prerogative. This is America. What I've always said is the regulators should just make it easier for new banks to start. One of the reasons why we're in Oklahoma is because you guys have one of the best banking departments in all of the country. Your commissioner, Mick Thompson, is the longest-serving commissioner in the country, and we wanted to be in a state that actually wanted new banks to start. And so that's all I say is that.
Well, there's also a lot of oil money kind of simmering around here. So yeah,
it's a good place to be.
Yeah,
and I just tell these big bankers, own your decision. If you don't want to bank Donald Trump, just be truthful, because I'm telling you, they are lying, and they are trying to say the regulators prevented them from banking Donald Trump. And listen, as a startup bank, we spent a lot of time with the regulators. I've been very open about our political position. We're pro-America. We bank J6ers. We banked John Eastman, his former president. We banked lots of people who were debanked. Never once has a regulator picked up the phone and called me or Larry Elder or Ben Carson or John Rich or any of our board members and said, you cannot bank someone. It's a lie, and these CEOs of these big banks are weak.
And you heard it. This is Mike Ring with Old Glory Bank. We're talking to about debanking. Likewise, some of these larger banks, they pull a lot of dirty tricks on their customers. I had a personal experience where I moved back here to Oklahoma and opened a new account in a new bank and closed my account in my big, large national bank. And every year I would get these bills for $15 because they didn't close out the account. They left $5 in the account just so they could rake me for $15. And I thought, but you're going to say goodbye to the billions or millions of dollars that Donald Trump has. Really?
You are so right, Lee. And that was the other thing. Like, here's the other thing that I want to preach and make sure people know. Let's say that we didn't have a commitment to be pro-America. Let's say we didn't have a commitment to not share your data with the government like the big banks did after January 6th. Let's say we didn't have a commitment to never debank you and cancel you because we don't agree with you. By the way, we do have those commitments, but let's say we didn't. You know what we do have is that we don't nickel and dime our customers. You can get us on the phone. We have a call center in Durant, Oklahoma, south of your beautiful station, not offshore, not somewhere else. And we have people who do not do the things you just talked about. And that's exactly why we love being a community bank. It just happens to be that our community is not the beautiful town around us. It happens to be our community is like-minded people who love this country and put family, faith, and others ahead of themselves.
And that's Old Glory Bank, oldglorybank.com/liberty if you want to learn more about it. They are member FDIC, and Mike Ring with Old Glory Bank is with us. Can we talk a little about what's going on with our economy and maybe what that means in the future?
Yeah, I actually am very bullish on all things economy right now, and I think I'm kind of out on a limb there. A lot of people are not. So we had a great second quarter GDP.
Yep.
Not the unemployment rate, but the
jobs numbers.
The jobs number was lower than it should be, but we're still at 4.2%. The one thing that I am worried about, Lee, and one thing I love about President Trump trying to push local manufacturing through lots of avenues, including the tariffs, is I still say that we have a problem with the employment of men. Back in, after World War II, going into the 60s, roughly 89-90% of all men participated in the labor force. And that's what created communities, families, and wonderful towns. It's now down to 60%. And that is what I think, while the unemployment rate is low, I believe the participation rate by men is too low. And that is what I believe President Trump is really going after with his tariffs, is to get manufacturing back. Listen, my dad, we grew up on a dirt road in Northeast Ohio. Most of the people we knew just, would get up, go to work, come home, and be with their family. That manufacturing job is what middle America needs. And so I'm very bullish on all things America because of our continued strength of the consumer and because Trump is going to do everything he can to get manufacturing back, which will then get that male workforce participation level back up to where it should be.
And interest rates. He's really pushing to lower some interest rates. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I believe right now the neutral rate should be 3%. And as folks know, it's 4.25 by the Federal Reserve. This past time, was the first time in 30 years that Chairman Powell had two people push back against him and say, no, we should lower rates. I believe just that we will see it lower. Yeah. So if you're waiting, don't wait much longer. But if you're waiting to get a home, we have great home loans, easy online. I think your moment is coming at the end of September at this next rate. And listen, Powell missed it during Biden, and he's too late now. Trump is right. And too late, Powell. And here's why I would say that happens. You study the bios of each of the members. There's 12 members on the Open Market Committee, which is what sets interest rates, and that alone is a problem that we have 12 people setting interest rates essentially for the world. 9 of them have never had a job. All 9 out of and Chairman Powell, his only job is 8 years working at a big fancy investment bank. Yeah. But 9 of them have never had a job. And when your whole life and your whole perspective is academics, the Federal Reserve, and government jobs, how do you really know what it's like to start a business and invest capital? And when it costs so much, like prime rates over 7. When it costs so much to pay interest, you don't have the extra money you need to invest and start small businesses, which will then increase the amount of products we have, which will be the result of the tariffs. So he thinks that tariffs will raise prices, and Trump sees it correctly. Yeah. Lower interest will force manufacturing, which will increase supply, which will bring down prices.
All the economists that I know and that I read and pay attention to, they all said that, and they're all now saying, I was wrong. I was wrong. So I agree with you. I think Powell's going to have to lower rates this next time around, or he's going to be out of a job.
Yeah, listen, all people are political, regardless of what we say. I think out of spite, he didn't do this last time, even though he knew he should have, because he didn't want to look like he got bullied by President Trump. Yeah. But there is no chance he doesn't do it next time, and I think it could be 50 basis points.
Mike Ring is with Old Glory Bank. You've heard some of the things that he offers. This is banking the way you want banking. And you know what? It's banking that we haven't seen maybe since my grandpa would go into the local bank and shake hands and look the banker in the eye and do business one-on-one. It's back with Old Glory Bank. Check them out online, oldglorybank.com/liberty, oldglorybank.com/liberty. And Mike, I hope to have you on again because you're a great source when it comes to financial insight.
Well, thank you, my friend. It's wonderful to be your partner.